Welcome to your channel that teaches you corporate English every day.
Welcome to this masterclass. In this session, I want to teach you how to understand Python from a business and learning method perspective, especially if you are starting from absolute zero and you have never written a single line of code in your life. I am not going to show any code on the screen because before code there must be mental structure. People who jump directly into syntax without first building structure normally quit. Not because Python is hard, but because they begin in the wrong order. When I teach Python to beginners, I do not begin by opening an editor. I begin by teaching the mental model of what programming actually is. Python is not a tool for coders. Python is a way of describing logic in a form a computer can execute. This is the correct mental sentence to hold. Asterisk. Programming is the act of translating human intention into machine executable steps. Asterisk, if you understand that. You understand what you're really learning. You are not learning Python buttons. You are learning how to tell a machine what to do, step by step. I want you to imagine a human assistant. If you want that assistant to book a flight, you do not say, do everything. You must give steps. Open the site, search this date, compare price, choose option, confirm, pay. Python is exactly that, except your assistant is a machine and the instructions must be complete, consistent, and unambiguous. This is the first principle of this masterclass. Python is structured thinking expressed in a formal language. Asterisk, Part 2. Why Python is used in the real world without showing code before learning Python? People often ask, but where is Python used? They ask this because they want to make sure they are not learning something that is only academic. In business reality, Python has extremely high adoption because it reduces cost, speed, and manual labor. To make this tangible, I will not list industries. I will show you how. Python changes money decisions inside companies. Imagine a company that receives 12,000 invoices per month in PDF and has 2 people manually typing amounts into a spreadsheet. If each person needs 5 minutes per invoice and earns 3 reals per month, you are spending more than 36 reals per year only in typing time. A simple Python automation that extracts that information automatically runs 24/7 and reduces that cost to near zero. That is not code magic. That is direct financial optimization powered by logic. Another example in marketing. A team that manually downloads Google Ads reports, filters them, builds CSVs, and sends to Slack every morning. This takes 40 minutes per day per analyst. When you multiply by 20 working days and an analyst cost of 5 reals, you burn more than 2 reals per month only in manual reporting time. A Python script that runs at 8 a.m. and sends the processed file reduces that to 0 effort. In corporate language, Python converts recurring task cost into one-time build cost. In retail, imagine an e-commerce store with 600 products, adjusting prices manually every 3 days based on competitor prices. If one employee spends 3 hours each cycle, you are spending more than 36 hours per month only on price adjustment. A Python routine that checks competitor APIs and suggests new prices transforms a repetitive activity into an automated decision system. That is not programming hobby. That is margin defense at scale. These examples matter because they answer the correct question. Python is not learned to code. Python is learned to replace recurring human actions with deterministic logic. Asterisk. Part 3. What makes Python specifically suitable for beginners without code when someone starts from zero? The greatest risk is frustration in the first hour. Most programming languages punish beginners with long syntax, strict formatting, and a lot of visual noise before any real outcome. Python is different because its visual structure is close to natural human thinking. When you express a step in Python, the line you write looks conceptually similar to how you would express the step in words. That is why Python is used not only by engineers, but also by analysts, researchers, accountants, marketers, and managers. The barrier to first contact is lower, so people stay long enough to actually understand logic. In education theory, that is called retention advantage. The tool that demands less pain at the start produces more people who survive the first phase. From a psychological perspective, Python rewards people early. This is important. The human brain continues only if it feels progress. Many languages force you to learn 40 technical rules before you produce anything visible. Python lets you see results with minimal steps, and that early proof of competence keeps learners inside the journey. This is not a technical reason. This is a behavioral reason, but it is the reason why. Python created more first-generation programmers in the last decade than any other language. Part 4. The correct order to study Python if you start at absolute zero people. Quit Python not because Python is hard, but because they start by touching the wrong element first. Instead of starting with logic, they start with environment, tools, editors, or libraries. That is like learning to drive a car by first studying traffic law, engine structure, and tire chemistry. The correct order is always mental model gives structure, gives syntax, gives application, never the opposite. The correct beginning is not open-eyed. The correct beginning is learn to think step by step before touching a keyboard. A proper study sequence for someone at level 0 looks like this. Understand what a computer can and cannot do. A computer does not assume, infer, or guess. It executes exactly what is defined. Understand the nature of sequential thinking. Every result is a product of a list of ordered instructions. Understand the idea of variables and memory without using code. Think of them like labeled boxes where values are temporarily stored. Understand conditions and decisions without code. If X, then do Y. Otherwise do Z. This is logic, not code syntax. Understand repetition as cost reduction. When you repeat a human action, that is time. When a machine repeats a defined action, that is automation. Only after these 5 conceptual understandings are stable should a beginner open a Python environment. Because then, when they see syntax, they recognize the concept behind the syntax, and knowledge becomes mapped, not memorized. Most people do the reverse. They see syntax with no conceptual foundation and try to memorize instead of understand. Memorization fails. Structure survives. Asterisk, Part 5. How to build learning consistency without touching code every day. Learning Python is not about intensity. It is about repetition with increasing clarity. Most beginners try to study for hours in one weekend and then stop for 20 days. That pattern always produces failure. The brain does not store logic by marathon sessions. It stores logic by frequent short exposures. Even 25 minutes per day is more powerful than 3 hours once per week. This is because the brain consolidates patterns while you are not studying, not while you are studying. The daily touch maintains the pattern active, and the consolidation happens in the gap. The correct system for someone starting from zero is not long sessions. It is small, consistent contact with structured objectives each day. When learning Python, what grows is not your hands. It is your mental narrative about how instructions flow. That narrative is a muscle, and muscles grow with frequency, not with fireworks. Another mistake is emotional comparison. People look at someone who already works with Python and think, I am very far behind. That thinking is mathematically wrong. Experienced developers are not far ahead. They are only many repetitions ahead. Repetition is a solvable problem. Time solves it. The only unsolvable problem is quitting. Asterisk Part 6. Why understanding? Python matters even if you never write code professionally. Many professionals believe learning Python is only useful if they intend to become developers. That belief is false. In companies today, technical decisions are made in rooms that include people from finance, marketing, operations, legal, and strategy. Not only developers. The professional who understands Python logic, even without writing code, speaks with precision when discussing automation, cost reduction, data, and scalability. They participate in decisions instead of watching decisions. For example, when a manager without technical literacy hears, we can automate it with Python, they do not know if that means 2 hours or 2 months. But a manager who understands Python thinking can ask the right questions. Is the task deterministic? Do we have structured data? Is the workflow stable? Is the output rule-based? Those 4 questions alone separate feasible automations from fantasies. That is business power, not code power. Python is not just a language. It is a mental instrument for designing efficiency. Understanding it changes how you think about work, about scalability, about cost, about time, and about what should or should not be done manually in a company. Closing of the Lizoni want to close this session by reinforcing the one idea that remains if you forget every other word. Python is not something you learn in order to code. Python is something you learn in order to think in procedures. And thinking in procedures is how value is built at scale. A person who never learned code solves problems by adding people. A person who understands logic solves problems by adding instructions. If you internalize that structure, you are already ahead of most people who tried to learn Python but started at the wrong end of the class.